I think that's all for my rules and regulations, my housekeeping, but I want to introduce you to our instructors today. Tony is the director of OnCue Chorus. It's one of our geographically outlying choruses in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So he's a couple hours ahead of many of us. Tony's been singing in public his whole life. He started singing on the stage when he was in 3rd grade and continued throughout school. He studied music theory and performance at the University of Colorado in Boulder, and he's directed 3 different men's choruses throughout his lifetime. He developed a particular love for a cappella harmony in junior high school and sang in his first competitive barbershop quartet at 9th grade. I don't know what I was even doing in 9th grade, but it certainly wasn't that. He eventually went on to sing for about 20 years with an internationally ranked medalist men's quartet, Bank Street, and they performed throughout the US and Canada and England. So today, in addition to directing OnCue, Tony's a vocal coach and arranger and a certified music judge for contests. He's actively involved in promoting a cappella music and arts in his community in Albuquerque, and especially enjoys working with young people and helping ignite that flame of lifelong music, love of music. So Tony, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. That was wonderful. And I'm going to get my share going on here. Before we do that, though, I want you to know that I really prefer face-to-face interactions because I try to read your face and I want to hear what you have to say or how you think about stuff. And so throughout the presentation, I might ask a question that would be appropriate to raise your hand for, like how many people think such and such. And to do that, just use the button that Kelly was talking about, the reaction button. It's on the lower right-hand side of your bar at the bottom of your screen. If you click that, there's a little place to put your thumb up. And that way I can at least have a sense of interaction with you. Will that work? That was a cue. There we go. Look at them all. Okay, great. Kelly, I assume you're going to do the admissions from here on out? Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start up my sharing here. Oops, get it going. So that we can have some order to this thing. There we go. Thumbs up if you can see it. Okay, good. So I did this presentation at International last year. I was trying to think of what's something unique that I can bring to the table, and it's experience working with young women. And I call it success with young women because it's not about how to get them necessarily or how to train them or whatever. As you'll see, it's about how to let them be who they are and find success within who they are. I call it a reality check. We're going to have some touch points throughout the presentation where I do a reality check with you. And at those times you can also say, hey, I know what you're talking about. You could raise your thumb. So Kelly already introduced me a little bit. I did get started very early. Music became an important part of my life. Even in elementary school. I wasn't necessarily good at any of it, but I liked it. But in high school, I had transformative experience where they had a huge choir program, 450 kids in the choir program. There were 8 choirs you could join. And they had so many, they couldn't do them all through the day. So there were 3 extracurricular choirs. And I was a choir jock all the time. It changed my life because they understood how music can matter to young people. And they instilled that in me. And I never lost it. So from there, I went to CU Boulder and studied music theory and performance. I wasn't a music major, actually, because I also wanted to earn a living when I got out. And I wasn't sure if that would be possible as a music major, especially performance. In my barbershop career, I had another transformational time with the quartet I sang with Bank Street. I'll go into that just briefly, but it's really not about me. It's about young women and how it matters what you do. But one of the important things I want to share is that in 2014, with a buddy of mine, I formed an organization in Albuquerque called ABCC. That stands for the Albuquerque Barbershop Community Collaborative. It's a way to join all of the groups in our community, men's and women's, choruses, quartets, a cappella, barbershop, and work together toward our common goals, to share resources and to leverage things so that we can be more successful together. That's been going ever since then, and it does things like runs the Singing Valentine program, where we'll have 250 Singing Valentines delivered, or the Youth Harmony Camp that's been going on now for 20 years. It's a great way to make good things happen in the music world. So that's kind of where I come from. I'm one of those barbershop junkie guys. The men's groups that were important in my life include my quartet, Bank Street, my men's chorus, Duke City Sound, that has been to international a couple of times, directed by Ferris Collins, the bass in my Bank Street Quartet, and an awesome group of committed individuals. And then I got involved in this ragtag group called the 505. Our area code here is 505, and the Youth Harmony Camp spawned a chorus of young guys that they couldn't get enough during summer, so they decided to form a regular chorus. And I got the privilege of directing them for a few years. And then, as you will find out, things happen to young people, and that group kind of dissipated. So before I turn the page, I would like to ask Kelly to poll you so I know who I'm talking to. So she's got a poll question she's going to pull up, and we'd like you to answer that, and then we'll come back.
Tony, you just tell me when we've had long enough for the poll, and I'll end that.
Okay. It probably doesn't take too long for that one, so I'd say we're good. Okay. Do we broadcast results? Is that how it works?
There you go.
Ooh, lots of others. I'm glad I put it in there. Okay. Sing with Young Women in the Chorus, quite a few of you. Only a small portion direct groups. And so a disclaimer, a lot of this experience that we'll be talking about today is based on my experience as a director of a women's chorus, but I also work as a coach with a lot of quartets as well. And women's choruses in town. There are 4 women's barbershop choruses in town. I coach or work with them all in some capacity. So that's part of why ABCC was important to me, to include all of them. Okay, so my world changed. Thank you for that. I think we can close and go on. You close it or I close it? Boom. Okay. My life changed greatly when I started working with young women, and it started with my daughter's quartet, the Ada Girls. They had participated in Harmony Camp. I had been a parent volunteer at their high school chorus, and got to understand some of their passions and things, and they knew that I was crazy into this barbershop stuff. So they formed a quartet, and they went to one of the early Rising Star contests, came in dead last. It was very devastating for them, but I thought they did a great job. I just learned how important it can be. And then through the years, I've worked with a lot of other groups. A few years ago, I had a super privilege of working with the group on the right there called Low Key. How many of you have heard of or seen Low Key? They are one of the most talented groups of people I've ever known. And we'll talk more about what that means later. But they could do anything they wanted, what they put their minds to or what they got squared away to do. And so that was another life-changing thing for me, to get to know them and work with them. And of course, the chorus that the 505 formed from Youth Harmony Camp was all boys, and the girls said, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to form a chorus too. So our Harmony Camp spawned another chorus called OnCue. All young people, and for the first several years, it was self-directed. Members from the chorus were the directors. As you'll learn, there's a lot of transients in young women. How do we transient? Transients with a C, where they have other things in their lives, and so they move on. And so it allowed some stability in the chorus to have an outside director come and provide continuity from year to year. So here's kind of the premise of what I want to talk about today. if I can make it work. Young women are different than older women. And I don't mean old women. I include old women, older women. And they're definitely different than me. One of the things I learned with the 505 men's group is I was trying to impart my values, my musicality, my sense of what they ought to be onto them. And that was a rub spot. It didn't work. You have to understand who they are, where they're coming from. Young women are different. One obvious reason is their voices. Their voices have developed differently, have different ranges. And if they haven't been singing their whole lives yet, maybe they're new into the singing world, it's going to impact what they can do and how they enjoy the experience. Certainly life experience is way different. And this is one of the most important things, to understand that young women, young people in general, have a way different life experience, both for longevity and for the types of things that have occurred in their life than other people. Why didn't I want to do it? Socially, they are, for the most part, the people I'm talking about anyway, young women coming out of high school into college, haven't really started careers, haven't moved away necessarily with a house and a dog and kids. And so the social aspects of their lives are very important in a different way than they might be to us. And values are shaped by the experiences they've had in their life, not the experiences we've had in our life. Lastly, communication styles are a little bit different. I mean, a lot of us grew up talking to people face to face, maybe on the phone, writing letters, and later generations do everything in a different way. It's fast and furious and inclusive and electronic. So to understand how to deal with young people, you have to understand their communication styles. Let's talk about generations. You've all heard of baby boomers. Did you know that those before baby boomers are called traditionalists, or the silent generation? What the heck? Gen X, of course. Millennials got a lot of attention because they were a large group and they were during a transitional time in history. Well, certainly the next generation, the current one, which they haven't necessarily decided what the dividing point is going to be, though it may have something to do with COVID, is Gen Z, or the I generation, or centennials. So all of these groups are usually segregated out because of what has happened in their lifetimes that was significant. The Beatles, JFK, moon landing, Iraq war, the 9/11, COVID, okay? Those kind of things, certain generations never experienced them. Certain ones were too young to have it impact them. Others, it's fundamental to how it shaped their lives, okay? So in that, this whole thing is about how do we understand young women that we're going to work with, whether it's a director, a coach, or a co-singer. And so now I'm going to ask Kelly to pull up the next poll question and have you think about when you got started in your barbershop world. Okay, that should be probably enough. Let's see how it came out. Is it coming? There it goes. Aha, now this should be interesting to many of us. A small percentage were actually raised in the barbershop family and got an early start. 10% had the experience I did, where it was secondary school primarily, that we either saw a group or our parents were involved, or I don't know, someone. My junior high school choir teacher is the one who first introduced me to the style of barbershop. It doesn't look like anyone in the college era, so they either got to it before or after that. Quite a few young people, middle, 20s to 40s age, but certainly majority of us later in life. Important to keep in mind when you are now dealing with young people that are wanting to try your new passion and hobby, to understand that they come from a different place. So here we go. Now, I know there was one of the OnCue girls who, and I'm going to ask your permission, by the way, to let me call them girls. I don't mean that disrespectfully, it just comes out. Young women and girls are the same thing when I talk to their face, and they're okay with it. Obviously, this whole presentation is based on my experience and observations too. There are no right answers, no right or wrong way to do things, but we're going to take a peek into the day and the life of some OnCue folks. We're going to get to know who they are, and I would recommend if you're going to sing with them or direct them or coach them, you get to know them too. Understand not only their experiences, but their priorities. Their time is valuable to them and limited in a different way than ours might be. So respect their priorities. Understand what strengths they bring so that you can help them use their strengths to get the best result. This will be key. Instead of trying to teach them everything you know, how about challenging them to find out things on their own and support them in that development, because they have a lot inside them, and music is about what's inside you. So here's a few of my folks. Meet Abby. Abby's an awesome lady, sings baritone, a full-time student. She was, like many of the OnCue girls, a product of Youth Harmony Camp. That's how she found out about the group and joined. You notice she has kind of a short haircut. That happens once a year for her because one of her passions is cancer research. And every year she shaves her head and sells her hair, you know, in a fundraising effort. You pay so much per snip, or I don't know, everyone just pledges to give that money to a cause that matters to her. That drastically impacts her appearance, and the cause is much more important to her than keeping some sort of a hairstyle from time to time. That's one of the things that makes her super special. It freaked us out last year when she accepted an exchange opportunity to go to Europe for a few months. We go, what? We can't go, we need you, we love you. So she just returned from that. I was worried that she might like it there and not come back, but she did. Here's Kate. Kate is like the mature founding person in the group. She's super solid in who she is. She works for a food bank, and right now, food banks are a big deal. And she runs a statewide organization to get food from donations and other entities and the government and disseminate it throughout the state using a network of people. And this is a program that she personally put together to make happen. That's the kind of passion she has for other things outside of her life. Since she's been an OnCue, she got married, and we all got to celebrate that together. Went away on her honeymoon. I was afraid once again she might not come back, but she did. And one of the things I've noticed about Kate is she can't always do everything she wants to do right away, but she is determined to improve and make it happen. So she's got that kind of spirit. Here's a really unique one. This is Amanda. Look at that profession. She actually wanted to be and studied to be a mortician. She was a new recruit to us a year ago, a year and a half ago now. But you might not be surprised that because what she does on a daily basis and often a nightly basis is hang out with cadavers. She is quiet and very self-sufficient. She doesn't engage herself in conversation like many of the girls do. She has a different circle of friends. She often drives to and from the mortuary before and after rehearsal. One night, our building that we rehearse in had a activity that they didn't tell us about, and they were like cleaning or running machines or had groups in there. We didn't have a place to go, so Amanda invited us over, and we held rehearsal at the mortuary, and afterwards she gave us a tour. It was one of the most cool bonding things ever. But talk about, you know, you never know who's out there until you find out. And she also sings baritone. No surprise there. Here's Laura. Laura is a lead, and it displays many of what people might consider the lead personality. She's super outgoing, super compassionate. She's starting a career in social work, which I don't know myself why anyone would actually want to do that, but there are many people that do, and it matters to them. So that's what's important to her. She was the president of OnCue when I started, or actually the first elected president after I started directing. She brings energy and passion of her own to everything. She's always positive in how we're going to get things done, though her life is not always positive. She often has challenges. And one of the things she's been experiencing in the last year is instability in the social work job market. And can't always find a good position doing what she's trained and wants to do. And finally, meet Nafili. It's not, well, I can't think what the word is. It's appropriate that she's kind of peering behind Laura here, because one of her traits is she prefers to kind of stay in the background. She always kind of complains if I ask her to stand in the front row, she'd rather stand in the back row, but she'll do it. I ask her to lead things and she'll always do it. But if she had a preference, she would, kind of stay in the background. I call that socially sensitive. Socially involved, absolutely. Contributor, hugely. But just aware of society in a unique way. She is also one of the strongest musical people in the group and one of the strongest musicians I've known. She graduated, classically trained as a voice and composition major. So she's done arrangements for us and has composed songs. Super excellent vocalist, but on top of it all, she has perfect pitch. So, we don't actually even need a pitch pipe, though, because she prefers to not have to, be the one doing it all. We use a regular pitch person with a pitch pipe most of the time. When the feeling does is help us keep honest with it. So that's just 5 of the people in OnCue. Is there a lot that you can see there? So in thinking about your own groups, whether they're chorus members or quartet mates, can you think about how it might be important to know exactly the background that they bring? So the reality check from this, and this is something I've learned, and I learned it better with OnCue than I did with the boys group, the 505. These women are passionate about music, but not only music, about other things in their life. They're so passionate and dedicated to it that every rehearsal has something to do with coming together and supporting things that matter to them. They will move mountains if you and I understand them and support them to be who they really are, respect them as they are. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of practical approaches now for how you might deal with young women, whether it's chorus, in your own women's chorus. Let me ask, does anybody have an all youth young women's chorus that they're part of or direct or anything? Like the Harmony Bells or whatever, not Harmony Bells. No? Okay. I can't see the whole screen, Kelly, so if you see anyone that put their thumbs up, that would be cool. Okay. Then these are going to be guidelines. Rehearsal format for young people. Because of how they have been raised in their lives and the media that they're dealing with, keep segments short and purposeful. Know what you want to do, get her done, and go on to the next one. Have lots of breaks. Allow the breaks. They might even end up being longer than you'd expect. Now, in a women's chorus, a regular adult chorus, they may not be tolerated to go as long. But in a young women's chorus, I have to be willing to let the breaks go a while because there's stuff they're processing and they need to get it out. So sectional work is really good because younger people in general are still in the independent phases of their lives trying to find themselves, right? They're wanting to step out and become who they are. So offer them guidance, small groups with suggestions or self-help ideas rather than beating things down their throats. I like to use the music team or others to make it possible to have that happen. And I think one of the members of my music team is on this call. I can't see her picture if she is, but I used to have 4 people on the music team, then 3, and now 2, but maybe 3 coming back. So one of the main things we're going to see is how things change dynamically with young people. But use those resources to help spread your influence instead of trying to be an adult sending your message down upon the young people. And then some tips for crowd control. I call it that because these women are chatty and passionate, and sometimes they go off on things. But it's important they go off on those things because that's what matters to them. So we have some agreements. I'll give a 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning means, okay, we need to get back to rehearsal now. So you have 2 minutes to finish your conversation. And I tell you, when I say that, it doesn't like die down a little. It like keeps going full blast until we say, okay, now it's time. And here's how I say it. So now it's time. We count down from 5 seconds. Okay, we're back in 5, 4, 3, 2. I try not to say 1, but they are chatting full volume until the last possible second. But they love what we do. They love music, and they respect me and others. So they do stop, and then you can get back to rehearsal. Just an idea what you might do. One of the things I learned, super effective, if there's a lot going on and it's not a break, but they're chatty and they're off topic or whatever, just do this and wait. And when someone else sees it, they raise their hand and just wait. Wait and wait. And eventually people will start to see the hand raised. And when everyone sees the hands raised, they know, oh, we need to get back to it and stop. One of the things I'd like you to share, we'll have a question session later, is other ideas you might have for crowd control that have worked for you with chatty young people. Okay, then the next thing is activities. So with young people, they go out at night and they do things. And on weekends, they're very busy. They might be doing different stuff than we're doing. Many of us might just be doing barbershop. I don't know if you're that way. I do a lot of barbershop. But we have Halloween night, and we have guest nights, and we have tag nights and different types of activities to keep it mixed up. Remember, I talked about short segments of rehearsal and fresh new ideas all the time? Well, that's one of the ways to do it. I just decided I'm going to go over here, do gallery view, so I see more people. Okay, so it will also influence the type of gigs you might choose to do with your quartet or chorus. What I mean by that is, because these ladies are so cause-driven, they have many organizations they would like to perform for and support. And so we do either freebie or paid gigs for workplaces and nonprofit organizations. The food bank will go down there, go down to Old Town, because one of our members is friends with a store shop owner, and we'll sing on her patio. One of our former members had a salon, and she would have us come to her open houses and be entertainment while she was doing things at her salon. So use gigs that matter to them, not just your annual show and the Christmas show. Service projects are huge. Have them get together and volunteer their time at the food bank, for instance, or for any other cause. There are many, many opportunities to do that, and it keeps them together in an important way. This was hard for me. When I first started, we were having retreats every year, and they'd want to go away for several days, and hang out in the mountains in a cabin and do all this stuff. And that's not on my normal agenda as a busy adult. I've got important things to do and all this stuff. And yet that's one of the most important times to spend with young people, because they bond socially super big in that time. In fact, you will find that something new will emerge from a retreat that has nothing to do even necessarily with music or the chorus, but is an important topic to them that they can come together on. And it unifies the group because they have time to understand each other at that level. And this is the other thing that was a little hard for me to, hey, Tony, you want to go out? We'll go into the bar afterwards, or we're going to go sing karaoke or whatever. Once again, I'm thinking, well, I got to go to work in the morning, and I'm an older guy, and I don't, hang out in bars and whatever. Sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. I'm not going to advocate and say that you should always do everything that young people want to do. And why is that? Well, here's the next reality check. Because you have to be true to you also. Not just understand them, you have to understand you and what matters to you. So where it's appropriate and you want to support what they're doing, do the activities. Respect what they want to do, support it, and understand that if it doesn't fit for you, you let them know. Or if it's a little too much for the chorus, you might say, I think that's too much for the chorus. We should do that on our own time. Balancing out those priorities for each individual and for the group. Finally, the big reality check and kind of the takeaway, one of the key takeaways from this presentation is, if you are older, older than 40, certainly, but even a little less than that, and you direct or sing with young women, your identity is not their identity. Now I would like to just pause for a sec, have you think about it, and take a few questions or a question or two if there are any. So Kelly, if you can tell them how to do that, they can unmute themselves individually.
Sure, yeah. If you look down in the bottom left-hand corner of your Zoom window, whether you're on a phone or a tablet or on a laptop or a desktop, you should be able to find an unmute button down at the bottom, a little microphone. Click that if you have a question. If you're having trouble, put up your hand or your blue hand or your thumbs up or something, and I can unmute you for you. Do you have any questions?
Cool.
I'll ask a question.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you? I'm with the Liberty Bells in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, with Ann Bureau and Ig Jakovac. And we often have young visitors that do come to our rehearsals, generally not in the teens age, but in their 20s.
Yes.
And they come and they visit, they like it, but then they don't come back. We don't have a lot of young ones yet, so we're just starting to have a couple that are staying, but like, I guess that we just don't know, you know, why they don't come back. I mean, it's probably because everyone looks like their grandmother, you know, or, you know, just older. And we have, right now we have one teen, and we have like maybe 2 in their 20s, a couple in their 30s, and then the rest are 40 and up.
One of the sections we're coming right up to is recruitment and retention.
Okay, good.
And I think one of the main ways that any person will stay with the group is if the group understands their needs and meets their needs. So whether it's adults, old people, professional musicians, workers, whatever, young people, the course has to offer something they need, and then they will be interested in staying. But you can also dig out what they need. It may not come out without you asking some questions. So we're going to get that in a pretty short order.
I'd like to talk.
Anything else?
I'd like to make a comment on that also. We have a young gal in her 20s, and the chorus met a real need in her life that she needed at the time. And before her, we really had no young people. I think our youngest was like 42 or something. But then it was really good for her. She enjoyed it. She stayed with it. And then we had some other younger people come, and this gal was really key in keeping those other younger people. She was friendly. She was outgoing. She told them how much it meant to her. And I think she had a lot to do with us keeping those other younger people.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
I just would like to say we have just a few younger people in CBELS, and what they contribute to us is knowledge that's like wonderful. They're the photographer. They're the one that looks after videoing our rehearsals, and they've got energy, and they're just wonderful to have around. That's all I can say.
Right. So I was going to comment that one of the reasons that having an invested young person in the group can keep others there is because they really relate one-to-one with who those other people are and where they're coming from. Well, let's go on to some practical things. Let's talk about music selection, for instance. How might that be different to include music that works for young people? My suggestion is to try many things. Don't assume they want it all any one way. That's not been my experience. They like many different styles. They need to relate to them, but it doesn't have to be stuff they've listened to on the radio. I would say, and if Naomi's on the call, she would concur, always include lots of barbershop with your young people, because barbershop has a universal appeal. The reason we're all in it is because we all love it, and so do they. Our Youth Harmony Camp always has great transformations of young people learning and internalizing barbershop is an important part of their lives. So do that, but also look for other types. When they have ideas for songs, a lot of times they're something they've heard that they enjoyed. And it's often not compatible with a choral environment. So it's a lot of soloists and instrumentals and stuff like that. So listen to their ideas, suggest things that might be similar that would work, or just evaluate that piece, or talk to an arranger about whether it would be possible to even turn that piece pop music or something else they know and love into a choral thing that can be done a cappella. So it's up to us as the adult leaders to understand the musical side of it, to find appropriate songs. Just a little bit on voices, vocal care. Understand that young voices haven't developed as much, especially on the low register, but to some extent, even the high upper register not developed as much. So if you look at the young women's series of music, it tends to be constricted on both sides, especially the low end with voice range, doesn't go as low. It's just out of respect for their ability to sing with it. You want to use a skill level and a voice range that sets up the group for success, whether it's a group you're coaching or your chorus or quartet. Not too hard, not too easy. An example would be when I started with OnCue, they loved the quartet GQ. How many of you heard of GQ? Yeah, who hasn't heard of them? Amazing young women's quartet. And they did this great version of Deed I Do. And everyone wanted to do it. And they had acquired it somewhere. They probably bootlegged it somewhere. So I tried to explore that as a repertoire song for OnCue. At the point in time, I was kind of new at the chorus. There were a lot of new people in the group. It was just beyond us. I mean, GQ is one of the most amazing, talented young quartets you'll find, and they can do really crazy Aaron Dale arrangements, make it look easy. But brand new young people can't. So we ended up saying, well, we're not quite ready for this song, and I tried to find another arrangement of Deed I Do. And we looked at that for a few months. It was a much simpler one, a little more barbershop-y. Did it take? It didn't take. It wasn't what they wanted. They heard GQ do this song and they wanted to do it. I'm happy to report that about 2 years later, they were singing so well together and knew each other so well that we broke back out the original version, and now it's one of their favorite barbershop songs. Deed I Do with the original Aaron Dale arrangement. So that's the appropriateness of it. Set them up for success and development. Okay, let's go into recruiting and retention since that's on everybody's mind. I know it's an important thing. Perhaps it's the most important topic today, especially since we've been removed from our opportunity to hang out together for a while. We have to do virtual things. How do we recruit young people? Well, it turns out it's not that much different than recruiting anybody. Can start with membership events, and we found these to be effective as long as you have the word going out, not just by one person sending an email, but having all your members promote it online with emails and by word of mouth. Set it in advance with maybe set a series of membership events. Once a quarter is a good time, a good frequency, so that everyone can anticipate and invite, and people can plan for a membership event like an open house or a guest night or a sing out somewhere where guests are invited. You can pay for advertising. You want to look at what's effective, and there's a lot of ways online to figure out what's effective now. You can research online which forms might be best for what you're doing. I would say that typically online advertising is by far the most effective now, rather than print or mail advertising, just for the success and the leverage of your dollars. You need somebody in whatever group you're in, and maybe yourself, to get comfortable with social media and to use it for connecting people. This is the most important change in the way things function now, in my opinion. Social media is how people interact. Do I want to be on Facebook? Not really. Am I on Facebook? Absolutely. Because if I want to connect with young people, and now, 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds, I've got to be somewhat fluent in technology and social media. That's where things happen. Can it get out of hand and go overboard? Very definitely. So I would give a caveat when you're doing social media, you think about how you want to be perceived and how you are as a person, and present yourself always in the honorable way you want to be seen on social media. Don't let it slip some little thing that you are in a tizzy someday and say something you regret because you can't take it back. And I've been pretty successful of not ever having to take anything back. It keeps me clean. There's a lot more I might like to say, but I don't say it. the single most important way to get people to come is always and will always be the personal invitation. In fact, how many of you, with raise of hands or thumbs, started in barbershop because someone invited you? Many, many. And that's certainly been my experience. The ones that not only come, but the ones that stay have been invited by somebody. So the membership event gets them there, but it's not the same as someone inviting them personally. So it's important to transition from an event into how you maintain people once they're there. My suggestion is that you involve guests immediately, and with young women, in singing and socializing. Don't assume that the music alone is going to do it. Do they love the music? Absolutely. They want to do it. They love the harmony? Yes. Will they like the kind of music you're doing? Very likely. But be sensitive to the kind of music they like and the importance of the social aspect of the group for them. When we've had town hall meetings, we call them, with OnCue, we always ask the question, you know, what's important to you? And every single person says the social aspect of it is of primary importance, at least very high in their list. So involve them in that early on. If it's a chorus and you want to do a voice placement early too, I'll give you a quick way to do this that I think is really cool. It's called the rotating tag. The group gets to learn a tag. You break them into 4 sections and teach each section one of the voice parts. Then you sing it as a group with those groups singing that voice part. Try to put a strong anchor person in each of the 4 groups, by the way. Then have each of the sections teach the section next to them the other part they were just singing. Have the baritones teach the next group the baritone part, and the leads teach the next group the lead part. And we rotate one, and everybody tries a different part with the new groups. And you do the same thing until everyone's done all 4 parts. At the end, you go back to the original voicing, which always sings a little better because people are in the right voicings. But what does that do for a new person? It lets them understand kind of where they might fit vocally without trying to do some form of formal vocal placement test. It's a great way to do it. And it teaches tags, all 4 parts, to your whole group. So that's a suggestion that we've tried and I really like. You've probably heard this before, but this is the way if you have young people visit and they don't necessarily come back, well, don't let them leave without giving them a choir buddy. Assign someone in your group, let them know ahead of time that they're going to do it, a mentor that is responsible for the follow-up with them, that calls them and says, what'd you think? And they don't wait a week to do it. They call that night or the next day. And they contact them and email them or text them. Text is an important one. Regularly to say, man, we sure enjoyed having you. Next week, we're going to be doing a new song and it's hat night. We're all going to be wearing hats. So you should come. That will do more for bringing them back than anything. Over time, the music and the culture will hook them. But in the early times, you need someone asking them on a regular basis. It's all part of follow-up. That's what retains people is follow-up. It has to do with understanding their life and schedules too. So as you're following up, don't have you in mind where, hey, I want you to come. Have them in mind. So what did you enjoy about your visit last week? What could you see yourself doing in the future? You know, ask them questions that way. I put together a little sheet of questions for our people to ask when they're recruiting. And that might be something you look at too. In fact, I can share that with you. Kelly, remind me, and I'll share that recruiting tool in the documents that we send out afterwards. What time do we have? Okay, I think it'd be another chance for a couple quick questions, and then we just have a couple areas to close out. Any other questions or comments?
Tony, we had one earlier from a member who she herself joined when she was about 16 and was asking, I just need to find it, hang on here. It's the daughter of a current member. She's 12 or so. What expectations do you have for younger members like that in terms of rehearsals or activities? What do you expect them to be there for the full rehearsal? Anne Marie, if you're around and you want to ask your question in your own words, please do.
Yeah. Well, I would answer that with, no, I don't have specific expectations for anybody's life that's going to fit my format. I have to make my format fit where they're coming from. It's especially important with young people. So if they need to go home earlier and do homework or get more rest, and you want them in your course, I would absolutely allow that. Not only allow it, I would encourage it. And our own members, sometimes they have to leave early, sometimes they come late, sometimes they have to miss. I don't scold them about it, because they're doing what they can with what matters to them. And there's a lot that matters to them. So I would say, absolutely be flexible. You might have minimum requirements for what they have to do in order to perform and to compete with you, or even stand on the risers with you. And it's up to that person to meet those minimum requirements. But as far as trying to push everyone in the same box, I think it's kind of dangerous. I think we should all be in the box that fits us. And the group should fit the needs of the people.
I think Jackie had a question too.
Yeah. My question is, as you talked about the choir buddy, do you then make sure that the guest knows the choir buddy so that when they contact them, they've got a face in their head, or is it just a random person who contacts them?
No, it should definitely be someone that's introduced to them and identified as their contact person that night. I would add one more thing, and I learned this from Artie Dolt. If you know Artie, he's this amazing recruiter guy out of Texas. Not only should this choir buddy mentor person be contacting them, but the director must contact them also and touch base and let them know how much you enjoyed having them there. That has a huge impact on a new person coming in. The director noticed. So I would recommend that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Oops. I went back. Now I'm regretting it. We're getting ready for our next reality check. So millennials and other young generations are cause-driven. We've already underscored that. They want to make a difference in their lives in many ways. And they're developing, so they don't know what they can be yet. They want the opportunity to find it out. So the best thing we can do is coach them more than direct them. Instead of telling them what to do, help them find what they, with guided direction, what they might have in themselves. They don't care that we're the experts. That's a little strong statement, but they do and they don't. It's important for us to understand that they're the experts in things that matter to them, and we're introducing them to something that's important to us. Let's share it together, and then it'll become something important to them too. We're not imposing it, we are introducing it. Something a director can do and members can do for retention is use their name regularly. This is also an Artie Dolt thing, but something I found really effective. It'll help you get to know her name right away, but call on it, and she knows that she's there and included.
Yeah.
If it seems appropriate, and if you found out something about them, call on them to answer a question or demonstrate something they know, or ask for their opinion on something, to involve them not only in the rehearsal, but in the important culture of the group. It's super important when you have guests to be watching them, keep them in the corner of your eye, check in with them. I will often say, do you understand which line you're singing on here? Or I know the girls sing this part kind of fast. Do you want us to slow it down for you? Be aware of them and their needs so you can check in and accommodate what works for them. The more you do that, the more likely they are to know that you're going to help them get where they need to be with your group. And finally, this is important, especially with the emotions that young women tend to bring. Don't overreact to some of their reactions, like they miss a note. Oh, no, dang it. Hey, they may need to do that. So don't overreact to that, and don't underreact. Notice if something is bugging someone. If they're fussing and stomping around, ask them. If it's appropriate to ask in front of the group, do, or I'll often take someone to the side and say, hey, is everything okay? Or what's going on in your head? I see something on your face. Super important. Don't overreact, don't underreact. Include them in the importance that they are in your group. And you'll find that goes miles and miles and miles for retaining them. They know you care, they know you're paying attention. Here's the hardest part, and this is not going to go away. If you have young people in your chorus, you're going to lose them. we used to think with our harmony camp, hey, it's a great recruiting tool for adult choruses. We know we bring a few dozen kids to the camp every summer, and certainly a percentage of them are going to join the adult choruses and stay for life. It flat out doesn't happen. They're too different of a place in their life. And so rather than bemoaning that you're going to lose people that you really become fond of and really help your chorus have stability and great vocal strength and youthful energy, you want all that. Instead of bemoaning them leaving, learn to anticipate them leaving and celebrate things like this. Birthdays, they're big into birthdays. Always do birthdays. You can do it either once a month if your group is big, or every week. Have someone whose job it is to keep track of birthdays so that you celebrate those with a simple song and, you know, some cupcakes or something. New jobs. Are young people getting jobs when they're in their 20s? Absolutely. Are they changing jobs a lot? Very likely. So help them both celebrate or to understand that they lose a job. That President Laura, the social worker, lost a couple of jobs. It's a very painful thing, but the group can be a support mechanism to her because we're aware of it and understand that. We just got through graduations. How many of you participated in parades, either for birthdays or other things, with your chorus driving around in cars? Anyone do that here? In New Mexico, it got to be a thing to do. So for both one of the birthdays and for a graduation, all the girls got in their own car, made banners, balloons, streamers, and we drove by the house of the recipient and congratulated them, honked, wished them well, and drove on. It's a great way to do it. But you have to celebrate these important transitions in their lives. How about a marriage? Is anything more, you know, fundamental and transitional than a marriage? Not really. So don't freak out that they go on their honeymoon like I did. Encourage them to go on and tell them to have a great time. And man, we sure hope everything's great and hope you can continue after you're married, understanding that maybe they can't. Maybe things are going to change enough if they start a family or move, that you're going to have to let them go on their own way. Moving is one of the hardest things for me, but we try and keep track of some of our people. And one of the young ladies that moved to Arizona joined another chorus. And so we could keep track of her and her chorus, how she's doing out there, and it feels great. One of the first babies born in our chorus was our official mascot. And so Laura, her mother, is no longer able to participate on a regular basis, but her daughter is still our mascot. And every once in a while she'll show up at an event or even come sing as something for a cause or a purpose. So those are things that are important to do. Now, what can be more life-changing than having a baby, by the way? So be sure you understand that and prepare for it. So kind of wrapping up, because we're getting close, I want to talk about giving voice to young people. It's my philosophy, and this I learned because of my mistaken philosophy with the Young Men's 505 group. The chorus belongs to the singers, not the director. And the singers are changing in complexion and life experiences all the time. So the chorus is changing as well. So be ready to let that happen. For rehearsal, I think it's good to let the president or VP run the program part of it if you can, rather than the director doing it. Especially if you're an older director with a number of young people, this can help separate the parental aspect of it. Many of you don't really have in general, don't have all young women's chorus, but this would apply to a quartet as well. If you're one of the older people in a young quartet, don't be the one that runs everything. Let someone else call the shots. As a director, I try to stay flexible. Always confident because they're relying on me to know what I'm doing. Well, musically, I do know what I'm doing and I can be that for them, but I don't always understand the things going on in their heads. So I'm prepared to allow whatever needs to happen there or ask questions about what's happening so that I learn and am sensitive to their needs. And it might be important, for me it was, on music selection and whatnot, to let the music team be the bridge. The music team can help in song selection, so I'm not shoving it down throats. I meant to give you an idea of the songs we're doing, so you know. Let me talk about that for a little bit. Because we asked for input from the group and they tell us. So the new songs that we're doing this summer, I Love Being Here With You. That's our barbershop one. Kind of a bouncy up tune, good opener type song. It's about loving to be with other people. I'm glad that they're there. Seven Bridges Road. Yeah? That's a powerful song, and it's not straight barbershop, but it fits great with their personality. Happy Together. Everyone knows that one. It was an old Turtles song. Has a good character. And then, Yonoki's still on here? Where are you? Wave your hand, Yonoki. We're really excited about a kind of a bass feature arrangement of Summertime that Yonoki arranged that we had to go through some hoops to get. It's one of those songs you start listening and it just takes your breath away. And it's going to be a signature song for our bass section. So thank you, Yonoki, for providing that. So that's the kind of new things we're doing. We have 2 pentatonic songs in our repertoire. One is called Run to You, and it was an anthem for the group before I started. They still love it. It's one of their favorites and want to sing it all the time. Because that was so successful, I brought the song called Sing, which was a public domain song that Pentatonics did that I thought they would love. It's a real driving, powerful thing. And for whatever circumstances, they don't love it as much. But we still do it, and it still has some impact. We have in-house arrangements. 4 of our arrangements were done either by myself or Nefili, and always looking for opportunities for custom arrangements that will work with the group. Some of the most impactful for our audiences are choral pieces, like Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, that has basses singing verses, and then baritones pick it up for the second half, and then the leads take it. And it just has a lot of impact. Ave Maria. So when we chose Ave Maria, we had a contest or an event where we listened to 4 or 5 different versions that the music team had looked at, and everyone gave their comments and we rated them. We chose the version of Ave Maria that the group wanted, and that's made all the difference. So it is super powerful, impactful, and very choral. It's so different than barbershop, I can't tell you, but it means a lot to the girls and it works for the audiences. And finally, something that's become a rallying song for us is called Bring Me Little Water, Sylvie. Any of you heard of Sylvie? It has some vocal percussion with it, or some body percussion, but we have accepted it as a rallying cry for the chorus, how we call when we need help and support each other. So you never know what kind of weird songs might make a big difference. Use a lot of different ones. Anyway, I mentioned all that in context of letting the music team help drive those decisions you make so that it's good for the whole group. Always ask questions so you learn about them. Be willing to guide and coach. We've said that already. Understand the causes and activities that mean something to them. Let them choose what's important to them, not you. Okay, so one thing that's worked for us really well is community collaboration. You might try this even with individual members, but if you'll have your young people drive this and the adults go with them, you'll find it really successful. Community engagement gives purpose outside and within the chorus. I like it because music is a vehicle we're using. If you go and help do something, make sure you sing while you're there, that it shows the value of music to the people that are volunteering, and it shows the value of volunteering to the people that make music. It's a great way to do it. I recommend you look for those opportunities and collaborations everywhere you can. Involve your group and let the young women choose who and where they're going with these kind of collaborations. Okay, taking it home now. Something near and dear to me and that I spend a lot of my time and attention on is introducing music and harmony to young people. And I always get emotional, so hang with me. It matters so much to me, and it matters to them. It matters to them in the same way it mattered to me when I was young. So if you have an opportunity to create or support a youth camp or organization or even visits in schools, do it. You will plant seeds there that make a big difference. So both the 505 and OnCue came from this camp that's been in existence for 20 years. Actually, we're going to have our 20th anniversary celebration this year, but we had to cancel it for the pandemic. We're planning on doing the 20th next year if things are allowed. We'll do it up whiz bang at that time. But understand that we get together for several days and plant seeds that let them really understand the value and importance of harmony and groups and music. And these kids can come for up to 5 years if they start young. and stay the whole time. And then they can come back and be counselors and things. So that helps them bridge their vulnerability when they're young and inexperienced, giving them fortitude to do things they need to do. But through that, you can understand the difference between boys and girls. This is boys, man. Young boys, it's all about how they look, you know, and what they can do. And they're infallible. You can't make me do that, or you can't force me. So do they learn their music? Heck no. Do they wait till the end? Yeah. Even then they don't learn it. Do they resist being taught choreography? Of course. Can you get their attention? Never. They want instant gratification. That's boys. And I'm being general, obviously, but I've been to a lot of camps, and this is what it looks like, as opposed to girls. And here I do mean girls. The young people and campers are high schoolers. They're so much more socially connected, group aware, so much more disciplined, and have, you know, eager to please and have a result. Do they learn their music? Oh yeah, they learn their music in advance. They come prepared. They've got choreography ideas that they're bringing. They want to do solos. You know, they want to break up in small groups and do dance routines. It's so different. And so that helps you understand that some of the things that matter culturally to young women that might be different from adult women or men. So the people we're talking about, for the most part in OnCue, are older than those, past high school, usually more into college and in their 20s. But so they have more serious things they're grabbing onto in their life, but that's been what we're talking about. But my conclusion is, if you want to wrap up young women into a package, is that they're strong and fragile at the same time. And I've seen this in so many ways. I'm really going to get emotional here, okay? This quartet could have done anything they wanted to do. Whatever I'd ask them to do, they would try. If they believed in it, they would succeed at it. If they didn't, they'd fail at it. And they cared about certain things and would work super hard at certain things, and other things they didn't believe in themselves, so they wouldn't try. So, you know, they went to international, and their first year blew everybody away and came in second place, their first international. That was super inspiring. We knew we were on the right track. They're going to do a lot of stuff. They're going to go forward, change the world. They did all these camps the next year. We're on TV and, you know, spreading the word. The next year they went back, came in second again, and guess what happened? It destroyed them. They thought they failed to come in second internationally twice in a row. And they, for other reasons, that wasn't the thing that killed them, but it impacted them so much that they started looking for other ways in their lives to find importance. And I'd never worked with a group that could more easily achieve what they wanted than them if they weren't so fragile and strong at the same time. So that's the low-key girls. And this is OnCue. Same thing. They have many different things in their lives. All of them matter to them. And they will move mountains, which I said earlier. They are super strong to do things like run statewide food bank programs and be social workers and do tourism for the city of Albuquerque. But at the same time, they can be knocked over with a feather, and you need to be sensitive to what matters to them and participate in that, so that your musical experience, whether it's as a coach or a director or a singing mate, is important and life-changing. I'm going to unshare. I'll just leave it up. Am I unshared now?
Yep, we got your face now.
Cool. All
I
right.
do see one question from a bit ago. Carla, Terry, can you hear me? You had your hand up?
No, I actually was just, when he said raise of hands, if you.
Oh,
responding.
gotcha. Okay. Sorry about that.
Cool. So that's my presentation. You're very welcome. There are no right answers. It's just my experience with them and your experience with them, but your understanding will make all the difference.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions?
Cool. Oh, Ruth.
Ruth, yeah, come.
Let's unmute and applaud Tony.
You're so nice, you don't have to.
Oh,
So my question is, you said they're tough to do, you know, various things, but they're very, very, very sensitive at the same time. So we as people who are promoting barbershop into their lives, and they've come for answering whatever questions, we're really trying to assess that fine line.
Right. And no one's going to be perfect at that. But one of the reasons it's important to have a young person that's in the course and comfortable with the course is they can help bridge that gap. So until you get that, you have to be the person that's sensitive and understanding. And don't worry about them running away because of, you know, it's not all going to be drastic where you say the wrong thing, they're going to leave and never come back at all. They're used to a lot of disappointment in their lives and a lot of challenges. So just allow, just be sensitive to it. They'll understand you're sensitive to it, and they will evaluate it on its own terms.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great to have so many of you here. Thank you. Hope you got something out of it.